Behind the Lashes is produced by CMJW Entertainment.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Lashes. Once again, I'm so blessed and honored to be able to have this podcast, to be able to be real and raw and authentic. And I hope everybody's doing well. Hopefully we're coming out of the winter season and feeling better and being more healthy. Today, I am so excited to have my very first guest on Behind the Lashes. She's a very good friend of mine and just a wonderful, wonderful testimony to how you can overcome addiction and overcome it looking back on it and making sense out of it, I think, if you will, but also finding faith and in that journey. So today I welcome my beautiful friend, Carol Nelson.
Hi, Jamie, and it's an honor to be asked by you to come on the show.
On the show. All right. Well, Carol, I know talking about this, we've talked about this in my office. We've talked about this as sisters in Christ in a church atmosphere. We've talked about it in your living room, in the car, pretty much everywhere we can. Carol has, as a mental health coach, you have helped me so much to understand what addiction is and how an addict's mind does not work like my mind or someone who doesn't struggle with addiction. So first and foremost, thank you for that. But we're gonna just chat and I'm going to ask you some questions, Carol, that I'm sure we've chatted about before. But again, the goal is to help people understand addiction and also how we can interlock faith with that, because faith is a big part of it.
Yes.
So, Carol, I want to ask you, your addiction was, what was your addiction? What was your choice?
Well, my drug of choice was alcohol.
Okay.
However, I did have a few years that drugs were involved in that too, which is a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And I've had such a long journey. If I didn't have the faith and the miracles, you always call me a miracle. Mm-hmm. And I realize that just being alive right now is a miracle. Yes. But my journey with alcohol has been a long one.
Yeah.
A long journey.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, Carol, that this was alcohol first or the drug part of it, or was it something you combined and then just stuck with the alcohol as time went on? And did it start earlier in your life?
No, alcohol didn't start. I mean, possibly as a teenager, I think I picked up one time. I think I had a gin and tonic because I saw my mother drinking them. And I didn't grow up in a home where there was alcohol, or I shouldn't say alcohol. My parents did entertain a lot. But my mother, my father were not alcoholics. Yet I have three brothers, and of my three brothers, two of them were alcoholics, and one lost his life to alcohol and drugs. Mm-hmm. But really, combine being an addict plus OCD is a recipe for an accident too. Mm. I would say, in honesty, what happened is after I had my son, mm-hmm. Is when I was worried about gaining so much weight. So I went to the doctor and he put me on weight medicine, which is speed.
Right. Back then, that's exactly what it was.
And to lose weight. And then my husband at that time was our house was party central and there was always a lot of alcohol. But at that time, I really wasn't all that interested. Mm-hmm. But so here I was on this weight loss medicine. And when I started drinking, it was not a good situation, but really my primary love was alcohol. Okay. And alcohol became more dominant, and the weight loss medicines went aside. However, before that went aside, when the doctor couldn't prescribe that to me anymore, I did go to the street for crystal meth,
Wow.
which that is deadly right there. And when that fell wayside, the alcohol took a big part in my life. And between that combination was the beginning of the end for me.
Okay. How many years ago was that?
Now,
Carol?
I believe I would say that pattern started about 23 years old. I think my son was about 2.
Wow.
And it was when 29 when I realized that I couldn't do that life anymore. But it progressed. It was horrible. I was driving drunk. I was a mess, and with a young child. So I mean, that's pretty sad in itself.
Would you say it was on and off? Were there years that you were sober and then you would pick up again, or were you a functioning, can I say the word alcoholic?
Yes.
Is that okay to say? So you were a functioning alcoholic with a son, and you also had a prominent job. You were
No, not at that time.
Okay.
Not at that
But
time.
during the alcoholism,
Yes.
you were employed at a very good job, I might add.
Now this was all when my son was very young. And then it was when I was 29 years old, just totally a mess. But what I was doing in those years is just driving drunk. I mean, really, I had my son with babysitters more than I was taking care of him. So I could go to a bar and drink, and so I could have fun. And it was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And finally, after all those years, and I was a mess. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, and the things I was doing were horrible, absolutely horrible. And one night, I kept thinking all night long, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And on that morning, I got on my knees and I prayed. And I said, God, please, please, I can't live one more day like this. I just can't do it. And that's when my first miracle happened. I was totally relieved from the alcohol. And normally for any alcoholic, the first thing you're looking for is a drink or a drug first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Well, I got a miracle instead of that. And that was certainly better. But now when you think about a person who has been doing drugs and alcohol for so long, and then all of a sudden you don't have that craving.
Right.
What do you do with yourself?
Right.
So I actually turned to God and said, what am I supposed to do? And I know for someone who's never heard this before will probably think maybe she was a little crazy, but I was directed to go to the bookstore. So the biggest drunk in town is going to the bookstore and asking for a Bible.
Wow. And well, now you had some free time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I get home and
you had some free
I
time.
said, well, this is great. I got the Bible. What am I supposed to do with it? And sure enough, the Bible opened up to exactly what I was supposed to read. And what happened in that next 24 hours is really, it truly was a miracle every step of the way. Within a 24-hour period of time, a neighbor came to the door, asked me over for coffee. I saw a church flyer on her table, and I said, gee, I used to go to church. And she said, oh, good, come to church with me. I said, no, I can't go to church. No, I cannot do that. But I used to go to church all the time. I, grew up in a family that went to church every Sunday, and we prayed every night. But in that period of time, the neighbor called her pastor. He came to visit me, and then I told him I can't come to church because I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah. Are you not worthy? Is that how you felt?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought I'm
not worthy to walk into those doors.
And he said, well, I know just the right person that can help you. And a lady came up my stairs, a little lady by the name Carol.
There you
came
go.
to get little Carol.
Little Carols.
And that
little Carols all over.
Really. She was a lifesaver. And so I was in church, I was in AA, and it was a miracle. However, it was my recovery from the damage I have done
Mhm.
was very slow. I mean, this woman, God bless her, she's no longer here, but she had to. This is how poorly I couldn't make a decision what to wear. So she'd have to line up my outfits for me to what to wear, and um, it was a long journey, but well worth it.
Well worth it. So that sounds like that was your first real turning point.
Right.
And then this I always believe, I mean, I've never had an addiction, except to probably potato chips and I don't know, water, but
That's
I don't even say that to be condescending, because I know there are times in my life when I feel like I need something. I can't imagine, I crave something and I have to have it, I go get it. I can't imagine what it feels like to have that craving for something that is really doing harm to you. So as you continued, I want to ask a question. What is it? What is the inner feeling of having an addiction? What is that inner? Is it just turmoil constantly, or are you numb?
No, I think it's more you want, you want, you want.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I even think there's stages of when an addiction has its hold on you.
Okay.
You start with enjoying something,
Yes.
then you want it,
Mhm.
then you need it, and
Okay.
then when it crosses into the physical addiction,
Okay.
it's when you're a hot mess
Okay.
because you need that, whatever that drug is.
Yeah.
And for me, it was alcohol.
Mhm.
But I mean, really, people can be addicted to shopping. People
Yes.
could be addicted to, I mean, there's a
Food,
million
of
addictions.
course. And I that is one thing I was going to say. Different people have different addictions: drug addiction, alcohol addiction, food addiction, shopping, binge watching, if you will, social media. Is it the same brain, Carol? Is
Well,
it the same
that's
brain?
interesting. And
Yeah.
I think, growing up, I was always the why kid. I was probably the one that would say, why is the sky blue? And of course, with years of I've always wanted to know an answer, and I did find a book that was very valuable as far as teaching me things, and it's Dr. Daniel Amen, and
Mhm.
he is a psychiatrist, but he studies the brain.
Okay.
And I just wrote a note here about what he said about addiction, because this is answering what you were talking about. Addicted brains work differently.
Okay.
Brain dysfunction is the number one reason why people fall victim to addiction. The brain plays a central role in your vulnerability to addictive disorders and your ability to recover and avoid harmful behaviors.
Wow, that's yeah, because I've always wondered, because for me addiction is addiction is addiction.
Yes.
And you taught me that. You taught me that when in mental health coaching I deal with a lot of people that come in that have loved ones that have addiction, and they cannot understand, why doesn't that person think like we do? Why don't they just get up and go to recovery? Why do they keep driving down the dead end road, and there's no way out? But you really taught me the ins and outs of what it means to have an addictive mind, also with the OCD on top of that.
Right.
So you were double punched. You were
And-
double punched.
And most addictive people are. And the thing with addiction is I'm an addictive person.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just for example, at Christmas, I go Christmas shopping and I'll buy all these things. I get them home and I'm like, well, you can't afford them. So then the next day I'm taking them back.
And then they go back.
And so
Wow.
sometimes,
Wow.
or I can get on food binges. And then I have to catch myself and say, what are you doing? And
Right.
it's really an addictive personality has, believe me, I can be, if I have a cookie 2 days in a row, the third day I'm going to want a cookie.
You're going to want it. Yeah.
So it's a very tricky, but the dangerous addictions, I mean, any addiction you have can be dangerous,
Correct.
whether it's food, cigarettes, gambling.
Sure.
But the physical damage
Right.
that drugs and alcohol do to you is part of my story.
What what could you say was I think if it's okay to say, because we're being authentic, we're going right behind Carol's lashes here. I believe that your alcohol of choice was vodka, correct?
Well, now back in the day when I first got sober, it was rum.
Okay, so you graduated to
Yes,
vodka, and I think some of the vodka bottles are bigger than you.
Yes.
But, again, with an addiction, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. I think all bets are off, correct?
Because when you're into that physical part of it,
Right.
more.
Correct. What would you say was the lowest point that you got to with the whole addiction from start to finish? What was and I hate to say this word, but what was the worst of the worst?
Okay. Well, I'm just going to back step just a little bit.
Mhm.
So after my miracle first recovery, which
Mhm.
truly was a miracle, and I had 25 years of sobriety.
Wow.
But back then, I mean, the miracles that were happening, I mean, so much has happened in that marriage dissolved. But every step of the way, God was with me. I got a job, obviously getting divorced, so I needed a job. I got a job. And through that first job, my career went on and on and on. And I moved to Florida. And
now she's back in New York.
yeah, and
We're blessed
in
to
my
have her.
first 25 years of my sobriety, what I did accomplish is getting myself back together, a good job. But I also had tragedies. I got divorced not once, but twice. I lost my brother to addiction.
Yes.
My family, I went to visit my family in Florida, and we were hit by a drunk driver. And my mother, father, and brother died, and I'm the survivor.
Carol was the only survivor of that
That was
accident.
another miracle.
Amen.
When at the accident scene, nobody could figure out how I got out of the car. I know when HO came and got me, but and I've grown in my faith, and I moved back to New York from after being in Florida 30 years, because long after my second divorce, I met a wonderful man in my life. I couldn't have asked for a nicer person coming into my life, but he was taking me to a lot of really nice restaurants. And what's the first thing they do in a restaurant is come and ask, what would you like to drink?
What would you like to drink?
Well,
absolutely. And we ask that here, but we get water.
Yes.
See,
And now that's all I ask
we're
for.
safe
is water.
here. We're safe here.
And just one night, we're sitting in this nice restaurant on the water, and
there it goes.
The waitress came up and she said, "Can I take your drink order?" And my friend's name was Ron, and he said, "Why don't you ever have a drink? It would be good for you." So I figured, well, I'll have and this is how sneaky alcohol is. I kept asking all week long at my job. I'd say to the girls, "What is it? A real light wine you can drink?" So they said white Zinfandel. So I said, "I'll have a white Zinfandel."
Oh,
Well, even though 25 years of sobriety, the disease of alcoholism does not go away. It progresses in your body. So I was wonderful for a couple of years. Well, but one glass of wine, 2 weeks later, that was 2 glasses of wine, a bottle of wine, and then every week when my friend would come over to see me, he'd bring a bottle of wine for each of us. And I would buy a bottle of wine. And he said, "Well, why do you have to buy all this wine?" Well, because I have to have wine when you're not here. And then how that progressed, one night I was out with the girls and they said, "Liquor's quicker, let order."
I think we've heard that before.
I forget what she had me drink, but it had vodka in it. And I said, "I love this. What's in this?" And well, there started the vodka.
Right.
And of course, that was the beginning of the end. In Florida, I could hardly do my job. I was the supervisor of the surgical counseling. And how can you work with patients when you can't even figure out what your name is?
Wow.
And everything went downhill. And this wonderful man that came into my life was very sick and he passed away. And I just couldn't handle life. It's all I wanted to do is drink. So I ended up in several hospitals, several rehab centers. And finally, my son came and got me and brought me back to New York.
Brought you back here. Yeah.
And I was doing fine until
We had COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
COVID got me and just took me in, and that's when my downfall came.
Would you say that because of the pandemic, you were, because I know Carol and I know regimen is very good for you. It works for you. And I think all the things, including your AA meetings,
Yeah.
everything was taken away. The gym was taken away. Even going out with friends, we couldn't see each other. We couldn't go to church. So would you say that is regimen an important part for you? I know it is, but do you think that's an important part of recovery for anyone? And when that goes, you kind of fall back into, okay, what is it that I can do? I can order the alcohol and drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, alcohol really, really has a stronghold on you, and it
Mhm.
comes and it's sneaky,
Yeah.
and it just kind
It's
of
a life of its own. It's like a little monster,
it is,
you know,
like
a little angry guest that won't go
one of
away.
the fellows in the program always says, "Angel on one shoulder, devil
Devil
on
on
the
the
other."
other,
And
sure.
which one are you going to choose?
Mhm.
But isolation was
Oh,
I
definitely.
because I'm a people person. I love to be around people. I do enjoy my alone time, but isolation, you start that loneliness. So what was open during COVID? Grocery store, liquor stores, gas station, and not much else.
Yeah, all what they think is necessity, I
And,
guess.
and then all I thought was, well, if I just have a little bit of vodka,
Mhm.
this will make this a lot easier.
Mhm.
Well, a little bit of vodka turned into, as you know,
Yes.
the size of the large bottles
Yes.
of
Yeah.
soda.
I will say this, and I've asked Carol if I can talk a little bit about this. And for me as your friend, watching your the decline and what alcohol really did to you, because what you see here is this beautiful, wonderful straight shooter about things, kind miracle. You really are a miracle, because I know during COVID, watching you drink and not knowing, is she alive today, is she not alive today, you know, checking on you and not being prideful with this, but wanting to make sure she was okay. And Carol, you could not function, you could not keep your beautiful, Carol has a beautiful home. I mean, you could, it's beyond immaculate. On the holidays, we call it the little Hallmark house, because it's just, I've never seen anyone's bathroom have fancy towels and fancy towels. But to see you not be able to function and care for yourself and care for your home as your friend, it was heartbreaking. And then, of course, you know, we had to have the police involved when I couldn't get in to see her, and the ambulance would come. And this is part of addiction. We are saying this because it's a real part of addiction. It just doesn't affect the one person. It becomes a village of people trying to get you up. And you're feisty. You know, you're a little
Yes.
feisty thing. But I will say, I think the lowest point was when you had your heart attack.
Yes.
We found Carol on the floor in her apartment, and you were taken to the hospital,
Surrounded by vodka bottles.
surrounded by vodka bottles, and empty, I might add. And I watched you go, and I thought, God, you did it before, you can do it again. And he did. And you were purple. And that was how many years ago, Carol?
4 years ago.
4 years sober,
Yep.
right here.
Yes.
And it's
Praise
yes,
God.
praise God. And Carol is you're nothing short of a miracle. You really are not. And what would you say, Carol, to people who are saying, I drink, but I'm not an alcoholic? What is your first, how do we get them to a place of recovery? Would you say, because I know faith is, again, not to repeat myself, but that is such an instrumental part in who you are. And even through all of your journey, I would say during COVID, you know, you always were surrounded by your books and your angels and your prayers. And so that was your pick me up. But there are so many people that drink and they say, well, I only drink at home. but it's an enormous amount, or I'm a functioning alcoholic. What do you say to that? Are they in denial, Carol? Would you say? Is it a denial?
If it's denial, I think it's more acceptance on of realizing that they are having a problem.
Okay.
Actually, what very first got me knowing I had a problem years and years ago was the fact that at that time there were a lot of quizzes in magazines.
Right.
Do you think you have a problem?
We're showing
with
our
alcohol?
age. We're showing our age.
I showed, yeah, I answered that 100%. So then I used to watch people going into AA meetings. And they look pretty normal.
Yeah.
And but
their appearance looks great.
I think it's something you have to come to the thought process. This isn't right. This isn't quite right.
Is it a battle every day, Carol? Is it a battle every day?
Yeah, when you're drinking, because you think, well, I'll just have one, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
One doesn't happen. And then for me, when you progressed into where you're having the shakes without a drink, I kept thinking, well, I'll just have one and then I won't have any more. Well, that's a bottle later.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and I've heard this from some of my clients where they'll say relapse is a part of recovery.
Yes.
What is your take on that?
Well, some people are fortunate enough to get in the program and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, I was in my first sobriety, I was in the program for 5 years, and then I got married, and I met my second husband in AA.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a total drug-free, alcohol-free marriage. But I can't remember for myself. I don't think I ever denied when I knew I was an alcoholic. I mean, I knew I had a problem. But not everybody goes out, and I don't know why. I don't know why I had to try it again.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, not knowing, but I think maybe because it does have its perks as it does feel good. There are people that need to be numbed. They want to be numbed because, again, if we go on to a whole nother topic of trauma and emotions and maybe a violation of when they were growing up or whatever, we all come from something. And I think, alcohol and or drugs or any addiction helps numb the pain.
Oh, yes.
And you're right. I think it's so tailored to everyone. Everyone's addiction is tailored to whatever they've been through or whatever maybe they cannot cope with. So, Carol, how would you say physically the alcohol affected your body? We've discussed the emotional part, the addiction part, but tell me physically, what did it do to your body?
Well, when you had found me that day and got me to the hospital, I had, being that alcohol is a progressive disease and my age, by the time I got to the hospital, first of all, I had the heart attack, but I was not able to walk. And first, I went from the hospital to rehab, and I had to learn to walk all over again. And then when I got home, I had to have physical therapy for several months because they had to teach me, just like a toddler or a child learning how to walk. I had to learn to walk between furniture, how to learn to get in my bed. Everything was learning all over again. I didn't know how to go up and down stairs. I was afraid to go out in the parking lot. So that was 2 full months of recovery physically. And it took me 4 months to be able to even go out of the house on my own. And still, even with 4 years behind me, I still have some trouble, but from really basically crawling to learning how to walk, how to learn how to go upstairs, how to walk without holding on to something.
Wow.
They had to teach me how to go grocery shopping. I'd have to park as close as I could to the cart bin, grab a cart and go. So it was really, and there were times when I said, God, if I have to live like this, I don't want to be alive anymore. Just take me. But faithful as he is, he would give me the energy and the endurance to keep up with the physical therapy. And still
Amazing.
today, I thank him every day because I truly am a miracle and blessed to have a friend like you in my life. I mean, who comes and picks you up off the kitchen floor? But
You got to do what you got to do.
and
That's
what, but it just that physical, alcohol is dangerous to me, and I don't want to be near it.
And I think some people think, well, it just will affect my liver because there's the age old, the age old medical part about, well, it's your liver, your liver, which is true, of course. But what you're saying is it really breaks you down in other areas physically.
Absolutely.
I mean, you basically had to start from scratch
Right.
again.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely. And wow, something we don't really pay attention to. And again, the damage. Absolutely.
Well, don't you remember the one day you came checking on me and I crawled to the door and I tried to open it and I couldn't open it?
Oh yes, and I'm thankful that there are days that I came that you probably don't remember.
Oh.
Because really we touch base on this quickly, but blackouts is a big thing
Yes.
with alcoholism or addiction. I've noticed that some people that have had addictions, that I've even spoken to, don't know how they got from point A to point B, especially behind the wheel of a car.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I mean, because of the accident, and that was caused by a drunk driver, I never ever got behind the wheel again.
Right.
In my younger
Wow.
years, I was driving drunk, but never, because I never would want anyone to go through what I have to go through still to this day. It was 43 years ago, and I still have nightmares. It's difficult to deal with. So, and a lot of people have come into AA because they don't want to kill somebody. So
Well, amen for that. What is a blackout? How can you describe what a blackout is?
You are functioning, but you have no idea. If somebody could say to you the next day, "Oh, did you know that you bought $1 million house?" And I did.
Did you buy one, Carol? Because if you did, we're going to come live with
I
you.
mean, you are functioning,
Mhm.
but you have no idea what you're doing
Wow.
or saying.
And that's scary.
Yeah,
That's scary.
that's scary.
Yeah. So we want everyone who feels that they may have an addiction not to ever feel shameful. Again, not to let it be your true identity. You're born with a purpose. God's got you, whether you're a faith believer or not, he's still going to be watching you, and taking care of you. But there's no shame in the game. Just for you and for your sake and the sake of your loved ones. Get help and start
Yes.
living
Yeah.
that life that is meaningful and that you can, you're blessed with, and you will find the right people, and we just get through it, because I know, Carol, you're in such support of so many people through AA and even people at church. Your testimony is amazing. So now we know the physical aspects of how it can really eat you up. Debilitating. So thanks, Carol.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
In closing, I want to ask you this question, and I kind of have this written down here. If someone is listening quietly to this podcast, and they're struggling right now, what do you want them to hear clearly?
Well, that there is hope. Don't feel hopeless. And I agree with you when you say, I mean, for me, I have to even think when my mind gets like I don't want to think about something. That's how I'd shut my mind off, by drinking. So I think to feel hope, and just to reach out and try to get some help. I mean, if you walk into an AA program or a Celebrate Recovery program, people listen to what people have to say. You don't have to walk in there and say, "Well, I'm an alcoholic." You just can listen and talk to people. I mean,
there's no shame.
No,
there's absolutely no shame.
And by talking to people, you'll learn more. And like I said, an addictive personality is going to jump into different things. And this is how, they say alcohol is cunning, baffling, and insidious. And sometimes when you know that someone needs help, is just kind of try to, talk to them,
Mhm.
talk and
Yeah.
tell them a little bit about your journey. And sometimes that will help them.
And that's what you've just done for us. Quick question I forgot to ask. Do the 12 steps really work? Are they, I mean, when I've read the 12 steps, I personally think we all should live by them. I mean, do they really work in place?
Yes.
They're there for a reason?
And they are there for a reason, because you need to go through a process you have to get rid of first you have to get rid of the alcohol, but then you have to believe
Mhm.
that there's power greater than yourself to restore you to sanity, which I'm fortunate enough to have a good relationship with the Lord, and he's always giving me my sanity back. And remove defects of character, share with your defects of character with people,
Mhm.
and then you're on a journey.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's very important to go through the process, but really it's a good way of living.
Yes, it's a great way of living. I've looked at some of those steps myself, and I've thought, wow, I want to be accountable, and I want to be more aware of giving grace to people and taking a look at myself, but also knowing good boundaries, but also knowing, I think, Carol, that an addiction, no matter what it is, it's not your identity. I mean,
No.
there is always so much more to you that I've seen while you were at your lowest of low. And I know you've helped me through so many things. You have been there for me. I couldn't wait to pick Carol up today because I had a kind of a chaotic, couple of days. And I know with Carol, one thing that she radiates besides her recovery and her beauty and her being a sister in Christ is she is full of hope and joy. And I just cannot thank you enough, because to be able to admit you have had this, you've to share this journey means so much to me, and I hope it means so much to everyone who's listening. And thank you for just being real and raw, and that's what Behind the Lashes is about. So
Thank
I
you.
love you, and you're amazing. You are
Thank you.
amazing. So
Help me from being my counselor to my lifesaver.
well, all glory to God. So Carol, thank you. And we will, we'll have Carol on again at some point, but I just thank all of you again. God is so good, and he's blessed me with this platform and the wonderful person who helps me put this together. He's given me a thumbs up, but this is truly, truly beyond a blessing. So everyone, just remember to take care of what's behind your lashes, your heart, your beauty within, and your identity. Have a blessed day.
Behind the Lashes is produced by CMJW Entertainment.